Welcome to another installment of the Robinson Twins Present Earth is Our Spherical Home Planet. Yesterday I saw a notice came up on our phone that said International Moon Day. And I thought, oh, that's interesting that they have a day devoted to the moon. It wasn't until later that I realized, oh yeah, July 20th. That's the day that the date of the Apollo 11 moon landings. So I've had this in mind for some time, making a video about that day because we were 11 years old when it happened, and we have photographs from the moment that it happened in our house, from our household. So we thought we'd share that with you. Just as a refresher, the Apollo 11 crew consisted of Commander Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, Michael Collins, command module pilot who stayed in orbit around the moon, and Edwin Buzz Aldrin Jr., who was the second man to walk on the moon. The three astronauts ride in the command module at the very top of the rocket. Michael Collins stays in it for the entire mission, but Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin go down to the moon in the lunar module and come back to the command module when their time is over. Then they come back to Earth. The astronauts got to name their vehicles, so the Apollo 11 command module was called Columbia, and the lunar module was called Eagle. So here's how all the Apollo missions went in a nutshell. First, the astronauts were strapped into the command module, checked out the systems. Then they were launched by the Saturn V rocket, which had 3 stages. The first 2 stages get the rocket into orbit. The third stage is used for the trans-lunar injection burn, which gets the rocket up to 25,000 miles per hour, and then it coasts to the moon. They aim for a spot in space 3 days ahead of the moon because that's how long it takes to get there. Once they're on their way, they reveal the lunar module at the front of that third stage. The command module detaches, turns around, docks with the lunar module, and pulls it free. Then they continue on to the moon doing what's called a barbecue roll so it doesn't overheat on one side. After achieving lunar orbit, the lunar module separates and goes down to the moon. The lunar module consists of 2 stages, the ascent stage, which is the top part, the descent stage, which is the bottom, and they land on the moon using the fuel in the descent stage. Then the Apollo astronauts will don their spacesuits with overboots and backpack and walk onto the moon's surface. Once on the surface, they'll set up the American flag, an antenna to send signals, TV cameras, sensitive instruments like seismometers, and collect rock samples. When their time on the moon is done, they return to the spacecraft, which is the ascent stage, which blasts off and goes back to rendezvous with the command module. The descent stage stays behind. In fact, for all 6 Apollo missions that landed on the moon, their descent stages are still exactly where they left them almost 60 years ago. After the 2 astronauts get back into the command module, the lunar module is jettisoned, and in one mission they even deliberately crashed on the moon's surface so that their seismometers could measure the impact. The engine on the service module is then used to do a trans-Earth injection burn and send the astronauts back to Earth. As they approach Earth, the command module and service module separate. The command module then enters the Earth's atmosphere where the heat shield protects the astronauts from the heat. When they get low enough and cool enough, they deploy parachutes for a splashdown, and then the astronauts and the capsule are recovered. Well, I know I went through that kind of quickly. I hope for most people it's just a review, but maybe for a lot of people it's the first time they're seeing the whole mission laid out. But back to the personal part of this, where we were when this happened. In early 1969, you can actually go to McDonald's and get a kid's meal that had several sheets of paper that you could then construct into a paper model of the lunar module, which we did. And then also you could get a plastic model of the lunar module and put that together, and we did that too. So here's what that looked like. Since we're twins, we're color-coded, so it's red for Rick and blue for Bob. I'm holding the paper model, Bob's holding the plastic model. Neil Armstrong's moonwalk started around 11 p.m. and our sister Linda just made it. Brother Ron slept through it, but we put the lunar module on his chair so he'd be part of it. Mom watched, and she had our lunar module model on there too. Of course, we had G.I. Joes, Army soldier, Navy sailor, Marine, and astronauts, and we had the astronauts watch the moon landing with us. This was the moment that Neil Armstrong was going down the ladder on the side of the LEM, and pretty soon he'd set foot on the moon. And that's when the two astronauts, the G.I. Joes, congratulated each other on a job well done. And our brother Dave was there to watch the moment too. Of course, our dad was taking all the pictures, so he's not in any of them. A few months after the landing, we found a commemorative 8mm film devoted to the Apollo 11 mission. And we had an 8mm projector, so we went ahead and bought that. And this many years later, we still have it, and we were able to digitize it. So it didn't have any sound, so we'll just have it play music you can watch. It's a little faded, but it still shows everything. Thanks for coming along with us on this remembrance of the Apollo 11 moon landings. We're so grateful that our dad saw fit to take pictures that night, knowing that this would be a historic date that we would remember for the rest of our lives. And we have, obviously. And thank you for joining us. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next Robinson Twins Present Earth is Our Spherical Home Planet.